Hello and welcome to the Be Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast, where we are reshaping life, leadership and business from the inside out. And today I am welcoming all the way from the UK, Manchester, or close to Manchester, Dani Wallace, known as I Am the Queen Bee, Dani. So welcome to the show, Dani.
Linda, thank you so much for having me. I've been so excited to have this conversation.
Me too. And I thought I was the queen bee. And then here we are. We're like having a queen bee. Like
a meeting of minds.
Look at the bee behind you. Like, you can't survive without bees. You know that, of course.
This is it. And also, there's multiple swarms out in the world. We need a whole army of queen bees, out in the world.
Yeah, I agree. You know, fun fact, I've got an amazing shamanic healer, and a couple of years ago, she actually just popped up just as I was writing up some notes. And she said to me, B, you need to just have big teaspoons of honey to spread out the vibes. And so for a while there, I was just having big teaspoons of honey. She's like, stop being a princess, be a queen bee. And there you go.
Yes. And it stemmed for me, the concept of being the queen bee wasn't in the positioning of myself above or ahead of anybody else either. It was the idea that I come from the council estates of Preston near Manchester. I was really having to be scrappy when I was growing up. So if somebody like me can walk into the VC space or, the entrepreneurial space and declare themselves royalty, then flipping heck, everyone
100%.
Else can
100%. That was the whole point that she said to me, stop acting like a princess and be a true queen bee. And it's not about, like you say, being, full of yourself or anything. It's just being who you are, your self-worth. Yeah. Which takes us into the conversation, because super excited myself to be talking to you. I'm feeling so much great bee energy, the hives and everything. And so hello to all the listeners out there as well. I think you're going to really vibe on this conversation, and you'll get a lot out of it from Dani and what Dani is doing, because Dani is the founder of the BIG Festoon. What a name that is too, Dani. And we'll come back to how you came about the name. You are the queen bee, like I said, and you've built your work around a simple yet transformative idea. And it is when people find the courage to use their voice, their lives often change far beyond the stage. So it's kind of like that mask piece, isn't it, really? As founder of the BIG Festoon, you spent years helping entrepreneurs, leaders and change makers move beyond self-doubt, step into their visibility and communicate with greater confidence, clarity and drumroll impact. And I think we need more and more impact than ever in a really profound, powerful, and not a power tripping way, just in an authentic way. Your journey has been shaped by an ongoing practice of what I like to call intentional shape shifting. You can never stay the same. It's continuously shaping and shifting, evolving as yourself. And that's just discovering when to challenge old stories, when to take up more space, and when to rebuild from the ground up using the lessons life has already provided you. At the heart of your work is a belief that speaking is about far more than words. I so believe that. It's about identity, self-trust, and the willingness to be seen as who you truly are. And when you booked in for the pod and I asked you what's one unique insight, lived experience that you've reshaped when it comes to life, leadership and business, you said, currently, my entire business, I have a unique opportunity to reshape everything from the ground up.
Yep.
Using the lessons I have gathered along the way. And it sounds like you've got a fair bit happening at the moment. I'm going to hand it over to you, the queen bee.
Thank you so much. Wow, what an introduction as well. So my business, I'm an event producer and a speaking coach, essentially. And the business that I've grown over the last 7 years, I've been really, really blessed to have organically created a community, create an audience, create a series of events that have really struck a chord with lots of different people for lots of different reasons. So the BIG Festoon is called the BIG Festoon. It's all centered in this bee theme, that bees, when they're building something new, they use themselves as a unit of measurement. And the way that they do that is that they link arms and they show the other bees where to build to. And it's called festooning. The verb, what they're actually doing, it's called festooning. And what I wanted to do with the events that I run is get businesses to link arms together so that we can build using ourselves as a unit of measurement. What does success really look like? Where are we building to? What's the point? How do we get money into the hands of good people doing good things? Now, that could be through investment, it could be through through commerce, it could be through exchange of skills. How do we grow? And this idea that we all do well when we all do well, and we cannot all do well until we all do well.
Yeah.
And if you think about how a hive works,
Yes.
that's the case. We all do well when we all do well. The queen bee is not actually in any bigger or further along position. I've just been made jump. My door's just open. My daughter's just walked in as we're speaking. It really made me jump then. So my
All that.
apologies.
It's all good. I've got Molly Blood going nuts
I just
in the
jumped out
background.
of my seat, being real. Oh, God. I'm like of a nervous disposition. So I'm
All
not
good.
actually, but it really made me jump. Anyway, so this idea that we all do well when we all do well, and that bees build within community. There is no further along job than any of the other members of the hive. The worker bees, the bees that that build the hive themselves, the nursery bees, the queen bee, the male bees, the female bees, all of it. It cannot operate as an organism, as a an ecosystem in and of itself without it being the sum of its parts. And that really got me thinking about the founder-led and the entrepreneurial community. And we built this event. And over the last 7 years, it's doubled year on year from 50 people. I was trying to give away tickets to this flipping event to try and get people to attend, through now to just March, just gone. We've installed at one of the biggest arenas here in the UK, the AO Arena in Manchester. And that's a 23,000 person venue. It wasn't a 23,000 person event, just FYI.
Wow.
Yeah, that would have been a wow. But even just to get the event installed into a venue that we can grow into, that was the point. Because what we was doing is year on year, we were growing out of our events every time. And that doesn't generate consistency for the people that are attending the event. So we really wanted to find somewhere that we called home. But getting the event into the arena cost me absolutely everything that I had, from a wellness perspective, from my relationships, financially, absolutely everything. And on the other side of it, has the only way that I can describe it be is like this kind of like tower moment. So if anybody really likes tarot, they'll know that when you pull the
Yes.
tower card, it's scary, right?
Yeah, I
It's the
agree.
falling away of structures that you thought were serving you, and you're going to have to
Had
like
it. I
look
had
at
it
it as a clean
years ago.
sweep.
Here it comes.
Yeah. And so on the other side of that has been this sort of realization that everything that I did, everything that I was that got me to that arena is absolutely somebody that I honor and something that I honor. But going where I'm going next, which is, we're scaling globally, we're really looking at our product suite and systems. It needs to look different in order for us to scale. All of the things that got us where we are won't get us where we're going. And that's where we're at right now. And it's really unique. So exciting and frightening at the same time.
Yeah.
Really scary, I think, when
Yeah,
you
because
have to look at things
kudos
like that.
to you, because it's only when you step into the unknown and you go down the dark path and you can't see what's in front of you
Mhm.
that you actually do grow, evolve, and anything becomes possible. Because I think that sometimes we're thrown these, I guess, lessons or challenges at us to go, well, which path are you going to go down? Are you going to go down? Are you going to stay in the path you're in, or are you going to are you going to push yourself out there?
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes all of you, and you just talked around, health, wellness, wealth, all of that. You're putting everything into it, and you're like probably going on some days, shit, is this actually going to work? What am I doing? Am I absolutely crazy? And I think and I d you're not. I just think that, this is your mission, your purpose, and you're being guided along, and the bees, like the festoon of bees, they're with you the whole way, you know?
Yeah. And what has been the most profound part of this experience, B, has been being able, so I'm 42 now, being able to sit in what has been a little bit of a liminal space. And I've not allowed myself to stop for a long time. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, CEOs, founders will do this. They will busy themselves in the building and the speed of the building. And actually, what sometimes that does is it disallows us from looking at any other area of our life. And we end up getting so tangled up and so busy that we start to believe that we are the thing that we are building. And actually, we're not. I am not the Big Festoon. The Big Festoon is a manifestation of what it is that I believe my purpose is, which is trying to connect as many people as possible, helping them use their voice so that they can have more impact, more influence, more income, doing all the good stuff. What I'd noticed is that actually the speed at which I was doing it was pushing me into essentially cortisol addiction. If I look at how I grew up, things were really tough. Things like domestic abuse and addiction and things like that were very inherent. Seeing that as a pattern play out to this point has allowed me now to go, those things that was trying to keep that little girl safe, that, seeking validation, achievement, growth.
Comments.
Yeah. And then actually coming through that, recognizing that as that almost like one final cycle of this really big pattern, it does feel like right now I'm being so encouraged to sit and go, those patterns that served you aren't going to serve you anymore in order for you to get to the next bit, because you now need space. You now need to find joy, finding love, finding connection. And you can still have all of that success, all of those things. But actually, what if you choose you in the middle of it all as well? And one of the things that I had done was give myself away in and amongst the growth, in and amongst the achievement, in and amongst the seeking validation. And this whole recognition piece right now. And what has resulted is I just got back from New York just 2 days ago, having connected with my cousin who's working over there, connected with some of the most phenomenal people, the opportunities that have put themselves at my feet, giving myself that kind of space to just say yes to opportunity and breathe in a second is absolutely mind-blowing, and has opened up the path for how I can see this whole next thing
Yeah.
growing. But that was by giving myself some space.
I love that. Congratulations. And it's such a, Danny, it's again, congratulations, because, at 40, 42, I think we do have a bit of my cult kind of soul searching, if you like, started around 37. And it took me till a few years ago myself to kind of go, I'm exhausted, and I've been just, running away from stuff I haven't wanted to face. So I've been putting myself into all like the hard work and hustle and all of that. And it hasn't, it came a point where I was just like absolutely exhausted. And it was only when I've freed up the space that you can truly see the opportunities that are in front of you. And so that's what I call formless, right? You had to go from one form as you've always known it and that you're attached to, and it's tribal and there's all this conditioning, etc. And then you just have to become like water and almost like shapeless. And you're sitting, I no doubt you've had those days where you're just sitting there going, what the hell is this? Like, I should
Yeah.
up, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And it's like, for all the listeners, it's not easy just sitting in your own stuff and actually going, who am I? What am I? Like,
Exactly
do I
that.
even like myself? Like, do I want
Do
to
I
like,
even Yes, do I even like myself? And the thing is, I've been such a purveyor of authenticity and such a purveyor of, absolutely, you need to be yourself in order for people to see you, all of this sort of stuff. But then to sit with yourself and go, actually, do I like myself? Can I see the bits of me? What shame am I carrying here? What am I hiding from myself? And in sitting, it, yes, it's dark, but with sitting with the mirror, actually, some of the best work and some of my biggest reflections on self-trust have allowed. It's like being a box of popcorn. When you shake the popcorn, the big bits come to the top, and sometimes being shaken like that and allowing yourself the space, being surrounded by people who you can trust to hold you in that space as well, has been the most phenomenal revelation. I've never trusted myself as much. I've never given myself as much compassion. And it's very difficult to tell people. You just need to love yourself. It feels really glib to say it. You just need to love yourself. It's very hard when you don't know if you like yourself.
yeah, 100%. Like, and, I still have my moments. And it was a while ago, I said to somebody, actually, I love myself. And they were a little bit like, what? Like, what are you
It's
talking
like
about?
it's like
And
a
they got really
revelation.
awkward. They got awks on me, like really awkward with me. And I'm like, no, I'm just letting you know, I really do love who I am and I feel connected. I feel connected to who I am and, I've never felt that way before, and it's kinda
Yeah.
like you're having a relationship with yourself because you've
You
never had.
move differently.
Yeah.
You move differently when and people don't know what to do with it as well. Like, you're right. And it's not that you we don't make it awkward by making that a declaration. It becomes awkward because it's rare. It's not something like people talk a lot about loving themselves, truly loving themselves, but actually doing it is a big act of compassion, and it's a big act of reflection, and not a lot of people allow themselves to get to it. So they can kind of surface level, yeah, I love myself, but actually, do you? And it gets awkward because it's the work that people are afraid to do, because you've got to face bits of yourself in order to love them. It's like having a child, isn't it? You love all the bits of a child because the child doesn't know any better, but we're just big kids.
Yeah, totally. And you raised a really good point there. And I think for all the listeners, here you are, super successful business. You're preaching, and I'm not suggesting you're preaching at people, but you're
I
all
know what you
around,
mean, though.
be the most authentic impact, all of that. Get out there and be confident, make yourself visible. And so you're saying all this stuff, but on the inside, I don't know if this happened to you, on the inside, you're kind of going, I'm telling everyone this. And I'm not actually living this way. I'm not actually doing this myself. And so you kind of get to that point where it's like, well, I did anyway, where you're like, I was like calling myself the ice queen because I was just putting on this mask.
Yeah.
It's like being up on stage. All I could see it like is, being a rock star or like the most amazing singer. I can't even think of a name right now of like Lady Gaga, for example, right?
Yeah.
Coming off stage and going home in like almost like a shell because you're just like
You've just
exhausted
spent all of that on everybody,
and
and
all of that on
actually,
everyone else. Yeah, and so then you kind of go, well, hang on a second, I'm doing this, and I actually need to be reconnecting with myself because if I'm going to continue with this, I have to be actually living it. And yeah, you make another really good point around the business and who you are and having that ability to kind of have a bit of separation from it as well. So,
yeah, the business
tell
is the
us.
vehicle.
You go, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say the business is the vehicle, you are not the business.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think a lot of us that are founders or CEOs, like, we inextricably link ourselves to it. And actually, you're you in your human form, this soul experiencing itself out in the world, and this vehicle is really just a vehicle of actualizing that, like actualizing a purpose, as opposed to it being you. And I think that more than when we start to realize that, we can separate ourselves a little bit and start driving the vehicle instead of the vehicle driving us.
It's so true. It's so true. And I don't know about you. Are you seeing that more and more people are wanting to surrender to like give themselves a bit of a like, it's okay. I can kind of just chill for a minute. I think that, because you walk around or you no doubt got clients like this and they're just stressed out of their heads. And like you talk about that cortisol addiction, I've had it as well. You can feel it seeping out of your skin. It's not
No.
healthy at all,
No.
and and you're in fight or flight mode the whole time. And it's like, how do you lower yourself down? Because that's a place where you become peaceful as well. Like, are you seeing that in terms of, the clients that you're working with and I guess, in your past events, like, what are the sort of things that come up at the events? Or, like, is it more of a, like, yeah, do you talk about this sort of stuff? Or is this something
Yeah.
that you're going to be, like, really honing in on more in the next evolution of the Big Festoon?
So the Big Festoon is a business and personal development event. And the reason it's a business and personal development event is because life is business and business is life, right?
Great. Yeah.
That we spend 70% of our lives doing whatever work it is that we do, whether in conventional employment or whether we're running a business. And I would hazard to say that for a lot of us that do run our own businesses, it's probably more than 70%. Like, we often, will come to work for ourselves to develop freedom and actually bind ourselves more than we ever would have done in kind of conventional employment. And so the conversations that I have with my clients are that they want to take up more space. They want to take up more space authentically. Of course they do. They want to attract more connection with people. The thing that I'm finding is that with the growth of AI, people are wanting to connect now more than ever.
Mm,
The In order to connect, we've got to be connected to ourselves. If
100%.
we think about certainty, people will come to work with me for 4 reasons. One is that they'll wanna be more confident, right? And they'll seek confidence. 2 is they wanna know how, like, what is the technical bits of, say, speaking or visibility? The other is how do you perform? And I'm inherently a performer. And the other is how do I make money? And the bit that I think that people are more leaning towards now more than ever is in a world where I'm unsure of the things that I'm reading are true. I'm unsure that they are written by somebody, a person. I wonder if I can trust what I'm seeing. The in person connection is what more and more people are moving towards. And so this whole identity type, I guess, not crisis, this identity evolution that I've been experiencing isn't just me. It's so many people that I'm coming
No, I
across right
agree.
now. They feel this thing, we talk about a paradigm shift or a collective awakening. I think at this time of where the global economics are, where AI is growing to, I think the humans in this world are having this kind of shake up moment where what do we do now then? Who are we now then? And that I think is where people are at. Like there is this kind of collective shift, and whether it's spiritual or not, or whether it's just a reaction to our social constructs, people are wanting to connect now more than ever. And that is where the identity stuff's coming from, I think, and helping people understand that confidence is the knowledge of yourself, where you know from your nose to your toes what you're about, what you care about, how you help, and own it with every bone in your body. We need more of that, and people are asking for more of that. And this is why these conversations are so important as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that you talk around confidence is a knowledge of yourself because and I talk a lot around I think society we've sought external validation for so long, or we've been
Mm.
told you have to be like this, you have to do this, and it's like kind of like, well, no, I don't want to do that. Or, like if you look at AI, for example, and I had a really great conversation with a woman, Jess Graham, on the pod a few weeks ago, and we were talking about she was in particular about the how AI is causing beigeness in the world, beigeness of
Yeah, this whole flatlining of
yeah,
language.
totally, and exactly what you're talking about, confidence being the knowledge of yourself.
Mhm.
People are like, it's coming back to rather than looking outside in, if we started from the inside out, wouldn't it be a better place for all of us? And, like, all the answers come from within. And even the word identity crisis, I'm really because I've used that a lot myself going, "Yeah, I had a massive identity crisis back in 2022 when I completely crashed and burnt out." Is it a crisis though? Because it's actually not, because it's actually the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, and look at you, you're like glowing.
I feel it for the
Yeah, you
first
can,
time in a long
yeah,
time.
I can feel it coming out of you. I can feel like it's like your aura is like 10 foot tall, right? Like, it's like all these bees all around you. And so it's not a crisis. And so we've got to stop
Mm-mm.
using that word crisis because it almost says you're having a nervous breakdown. You don't know what the hell
Yeah.
you're doing next.
And it's funny, because at the beginning of it, at the beginning of this, what I would like, I'm going to refer to it as this kind of tower moment on the other side of this, like this arena event, one of the biggest achievements of my life. And also like the table was almost like wiped clean, I guess. Like my team looks very, very different now. Things are very kind of sparse in terms of, our output in the moment. And we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes. And right at the beginning, and even sort of a month or so in, I've got people who are asking me, are you okay? Is everything all right? Are you all right? Because I'm getting quieter and quieter, and I'm retreating, But this necessary after pushing out for so long. This is like the regathering of the energy and sitting with it, and it's scary for the person experiencing it. It feels like a crisis at the time, but it was almost like I was hovering above myself, or still am, whilst it's all happening, going, oh, this is the breaking down of my patterns. Goodness. that means that on the other side of this, something really exciting is going to come. 14 years ago, I was homeless, by the way, and I lost everything. I'd experienced intimate partner domestic abuse, coercive control, financial control, all of this sort of stuff. Being an intelligent person, and I had a great job at the time, by the way. Like I was working in learning and development for some of the world's biggest brands. And on top, it looked like I had it together, and underneath, I didn't. I wasn't caring for myself. I wasn't loving myself. I was accepting substandard love, affection, connection, all of this. Didn't give myself any compassion at all, was pouring out
I didn't
all
love
the
yourself,
time.
right? Didn't love yourself.
Right. I couldn't even sit with myself. I was so scared to sit with myself. I would joke at the time that if I was to spend any time with myself, I would need a fully grown adult to accompany me whilst I sat. And actually, having done that now finally, because I came through the other side of it and went straight into fight, 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 fight. And brilliant. It's created a wonderful business that is really, centered in service and helping people and inclusion, and but still emptying my cup all the time, finding joy in performance and helping and service for sure, but not allowing myself to receive anything. And sitting on the other side of it, allowing myself to go quiet, then my peers and the people that love me are like, are you okay? Gosh, she's falling apart. And whilst, yeah, it kind of felt like I was, yeah. But on the other side, the most excited I have ever been. And you say that I'm glowing. I've never known myself so well. I've always felt like I've hovered above the ground a little bit. My feet never quite touch the ground. I have never felt like I've got roots going into the middle of the earth.
So good. Yeah, I know,
Wild.
it's so funny, people will say to me now, like, someone stopped me yesterday from the local cafe, I haven't seen it for ages, she goes, "You look so good." And I'm like, "Do I?" Like, because it's like, you don't see it as much. You feel it, you definitely feel freer, and I think that's what's so important, and I think it's a good one for the listeners, because when you're going through an evolution when it comes to identity, it doesn't have to be seen as a crisis. It's actually, a breakthrough. And
Yeah,
it's
give her a
not
second. She's in a metamorphosis. Like, hang
yeah,
on. This is a
you're
joyful
shaping
period. You're like,
yeah,
she's
you're
incubating.
yeah, you're incubating because you're moving into the next shape and the shape that you're meant to be moving into, and it's only in that quiet space like you talk about, and I talk about it a lot, is that you get to kind of like water, go here, there, and everywhere. You've just been in New York. How exciting. It's so funny you talk about New York. Someone suggested heading to a conference there in September of this year. And I'm like, I've been thinking I need to get away. I need to get overseas. And I'm just like, excuse my language, fuck it. I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm
Yes.
just like, I'm doing it. And I just put it into now I'm doing it. And now it's going to start to open up all these possibilities. And I think that's what you have to do.
Absolutely. And like I say with New York, just literally just come back this Sunday, B. And my cousin lives over there. When I was growing up, my mum has a number of siblings, 5 siblings. Each of them have a number of children. At some point, the majority of those siblings came to live with us, even though things were a little bit kind of chaotic for us. We were the least chaotic, and my mum was this beautiful, like sort of matriarch, would look after the kids, build these kids back up, and then send them back out into the world. And one of my cousins, Sarah, she has this wonderful, beautiful business over in the US called Intentional Living Magazine, and she's built this over there. And I went over, and it was so wonderful. My childhood pseudo sibling, I guess. These cousins that came to live with us, we grew up together, and Sarah and I were closest in age, and we've always wanted to work together. But Sarah is building what she's building, I'm building what I'm building. It's a little bit different, but kind of the same. And it just opened up an opportunity, me having a little bit of space to go over there for the first time to work with my cousin. We're both of us within our purpose, both of us within our absolute skill sets, mine within speaking and connecting. She's a super connector as well. And what we created, it was a very small event, 25 people, all of whom kind of felt a gravitational pull towards this little event that we did. The magic that was created in that room was phenomenal. And that's because Sarah absolutely knows who she is, and we honor ourselves and our past. I absolutely know who I am. The opportunities that have come off there is bigger than any kind of launch that I've done, any kind of pitch that I've done. I wasn't pitching anything. All I was doing was going along to serve, going along to connect with my cousin. I went along with one of my friends. He's a photographer, and we got on really well, and we went to go and explore that, the opportunities together. and we went to play. And in that play space, we went with intention, but not with outcome in mind. We just went open to opportunity. Wow. Wow. That is one of the most profound things that I've experienced, other than this whole like kind of tower moment, sitting with myself, do I even like myself? Coming to the understanding that yes, I do. And then being open to opportunity and allowing, probably one of the most difficult things, because when you're not controlling something, you're not controlling something. Allowing myself finally to go, whatever this opportunity brings, I'm absolutely open to whatever outcome it sends my way. And I absolutely trust that it will be in my best interests. That kind of trust in oneself is a very difficult thing to sit with. But when you do, there's magic in them there hills.
So true, because I was actually going to come to that point in terms of how, how you work with your clients, and you talked around the confidence and the visibility, and then you talked around, commercial, monetization,
Yeah.
etc. I think when you push, 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 money gets stuck. It gets blocked almost,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I'm sure you have these conversations, and just a classic example of even what's happened now. And I know even for myself, it's almost like I've, had to be stripped bare from, your relationship with money, your relationship with everything to
Everything.
kind
And how you are with one thing is how you are with everything, by the way.
of
How
100%.
you are with money is how you are with love. How you are with love is
Yeah.
how you are with your friends. How you are with friends is your relationship with food. Everything.
So
And when you
every,
start to understand that,
I agree. So everything that you're going through and experiencing now, are you bringing this into the new version of the Big Festoon? Because you have so much to share, and the world is asking for this. And, like, I know that too, right? It's like, I want to just be able to be. I want to be able to be myself and not feel like I'm just working for the man, the dog, whatever you want to
yeah,
call it, and actually feel like I'm fulfilled.
that's a really great that's a really great thing to actually say, because it was a question that I asked not so long back. I didn't know how to be. And how funny the play on the words and the pun, like we can have a giggle about it, but at the same time, I didn't understand, like, what does it mean to be? I said to my friend, like, how does one be? I didn't know. I only knew how to do. I only could
Mm.
do, because that's, I made it so that if I stopped, my world would fall apart. But actually, what I was doing is I was avoiding being. Because again, if we go back to,
Yeah,
I was, joking that going into my head or sitting with the mirror, I'd have to have an adult accompany me. The being is the stopping, the being is the allowing. And I think that certainly, I mean, I'm a woman, and sitting within my masculine for so long, I didn't know how to sit within my feminine energy, in my receiving energy, in my, how do I do that? I didn't even didn't even connect with myself as being attractive, as being like magnetic, or, being lovable, all of these things, this kind of receiving, being this vessel. I was a great container for people. I was a great container for people's
Mm,
emotions. I would
mm.
hold them for them as an act of service. But what if I was to receive just for me, just for being alive, just for because I'm here, and not because I'm providing a service to anybody? Again, suddenly opportunity, like, oh, learning that, like allowing this sort of femininity, allowing this, like,
Yeah.
I'm in my soft girl era, I'm allowing myself to receive. Isn't that I'm taking, I'm allowing. And it's funny, a lot of people will look at people who are successful and go, you're really lucky. And I'm like, I don't see that I'm lucky. I see that I'm prepared, and I'm open to opportunity, or creating opportunity. And so preparation plus opportunity equals luck. The more that I prepare, the more open I am to opportunity, the luckier I tend to get. And so with my clients, the preparation is what opens up the opportunity. So the training with me to articulate, to use their stories and the value and their systems and everything that they know that they can serve the world with, prepare themselves to be articulate with that, and be then open to opportunity within it, and go and seek opportunity within it. Then they can start to, the preparation is the mechanics, the
Yeah,
before, during, and after they do a talk, the talk itself, the call to action. But then once they've got all that prepared, there's so many more opportunities to them available, instead of them just winging it. Oh yeah, I can jump on stage and do a talk. Yeah, fine. What if you're really ready? What if you've got all your assets to hand? What if you're totally prepared for this, and then go and be open to opportunities? Turns out you get really lucky when you do that.
Yeah, it's a good call out. I actually was going to flip it on its head and ask you, when it comes to, because I've studied flow science and neuroscience, and I don't know if you've heard of, oh gosh, I've just lost my train of thought.
You was thinking about neuroscience
Yeah,
and
no, but there's a podcast I was gonna actually I'll find it for you and send it to you, and they talk about, and it's all about public speaking, right? And, like, I was listening to this a while ago, and it'll come to me as I'm talking to you. The ability, we've always been told to think before we speak, and yet what if we spoke before we thought?
you get a
And
lot more truth that way, I think. You get a lot more truth in
yeah.
that.
What's
But
your view on that though? Like in terms of, when it comes to preparation, opportunity equals luck. Like if I'm scripted, this is why this podcast is not scripted,
mhm,
because I go to water. Like I know my
yeah.
stuff. I've done my research.
That's your preparation. That's what
Yeah.
you've got. So you've got a toolbox there that you can draw upon, right? You've done your studies, you've lived and garnered all your experience, and you know what you want to get out of this podcast. So you're not winging it, not really.
No.
You have the way I explain it to my clients is structures from which to deviate. Because I don't know about you, but I've got a feeling you and I are quite similar in that if you've got too much structure, you feel suffocated and overwhelmed.
100%. Yeah.
Zero structure at all,
I feel like
suffocated and overwhelmed. Like it's almost the same feeling. I get blank canvas syndrome, right? But if
going
you
to
give
just
me
procrastination. You're just going,
right, I'm like looking at the thing. God, there's so many possibilities. I couldn't even begin to start. Like even just a mark on the canvas would suggest that I'm then able to go, no, not that, this. So that, that creates a catalyst for a thought. So the concept of zero preparation is one that I don't subscribe to, like no preparation whatsoever. But what we don't do is give ourselves the compassion or the recognition that a lot of the preparation has gone into what we've learned already. And so when you've got a podcast, you've got a beginning, middle, and end. So it's not necessarily a total meander. You and I didn't know really what do we want the outcome of this conversation to be. We knew, though, that we were going to center around the kind of this being forms. What does that mean? What does identity mean? What's the kind of the bee analogy? How does speaking fit in? So we've got a structure from which to deviate. And we knew that we was going to kind of be water around that structure.
yes, so true. Yeah.
And that is what, what I share with my clients, structures from which to deviate. If we've got something to play on, we've got a climbing frame. How you choose to climb that frame is entirely up to you.
Yeah, it's that non-linear path, isn't it? Structure, it's like you can have the structures and you can deviate from it. And I
Hmm.
always, like, as I'm talking to people, I always end up like I have an outcome in my head because I'm going to bring it right back to the big festoon. And I guess one big question I have for you is, like, obviously you've explained about the bees and the festoon of the bees. Like, have you always been interested in bees? Like, what was it that actually drew you to?
I'm such a geek, right? I'm like, so for a lot of people will stumble across me and think, oh, she's a showgirl. I'm a singer, performer, host. You'll see if you go to my, if you go to my Instagram, there's lots of costumes and, like there's that. But like in tandem with that and the dichotomy of me is that I'm a scientist, like I'm a nerd. And what I love is I love behavior. I love to study behavior. I love to study people's behavior, but bees' behavior is like fascinating for me. And that, from the way that they communicate with each other through waggle dancing, like, of course, it's through the medium of dance. Like, when they find a great patch of flowers, they'll come back to the hive and via the medium of dance, they'll tell the other bees where that is. They'll also, tell them the distance, how much of the great nectar is there. They'll also conserve some of it so they won't utilize all of the resource. They'll let the resource grow back. That they measure things like temperature. They measure things like the health of the hive. They behave accordingly. They festoon. They use it. All of these things. One of the reasons why I kind of centered the brand in this is, yes, this idea of community, this idea that, we all do well when we all do well, that, we're all included and, there's not one bee more important than the other, but we're all important in different ways. But when I was homeless on the other side of this, on the other side, found somewhere to live. And at the time, I only had 2 children. I've got 3 now. I've got Eli, Daisy, and Ivy, and they're 18, 16, and 10. Eli and
I love an
Daisy were, thank you. Eli and Daisy were maybe 3, 4, and I was watching the Bee Movie. And there's this quote at the beginning of Bee Movie that goes, aerodynamically, bees shouldn't be able to fly. Their little wings shouldn't get their fat bodies off the ground, and the bees don't care what humans think is impossible. The bee flies anyway. And I clutched my pearls. I was like, that's what we do. We get to fly anyway. And of course, if you are a scientist, the bee's wings actually go in a little figure of 8 shape, and that's what.
much more research than I have. I thought I'd
Honestly, it's like honestly, I like geek out about this stuff.
Mhm.
So the bee's wings are smaller than their body, but they move in a figure of 8 shape. So no, like aerodynamically, people that study like aeroplanes and birds and bees are the only ones that kind of have this sort of. They just do things differently, and it still works. And actually, they're super intelligent. The way that they communicate, it is all communication with bees. So then for me, of course, my brand is so vertical and centered within that I can't not talk about it. I get so excited.
Love it. I know. Like it's so what star sign are you out of interest?
Capricorn.
Yeah, your
Like,
energy is just like electric. It's like people say to me, my energy is like electric, and I think that's part of the bee as well, right? Because
yeah, as well. But human design, I'm a generator with an endless amount of energy, like untold reserves. And when I am, kind of working in this space, and when I'm really sat in my purpose, like I can't help it. And people are like, are you still going? How are you doing this? How are you not burnt out? And I'm like, because I can't not. I
yeah.
can't not do it.
That must have been
And
really hard for you then, just sitting with it. I'm a manifestor. I recently only just did the human design. I'm like, oh, this all makes complete sense, like all of
yeah,
that type thing, right? So,
yeah,
but coming right back to present, and here we are, like, 42 minutes later, I said to you pre-show, oh, we'll just chat for like 30, 35 minutes. This is what happens with these
when you meet
conversations.
minds.
No, it's great because I like for all the listeners out there, here it is. Like we've almost had like the identity of our conversation started in one form, and look where it's landed now in terms of like we've got this like I feel like a deep connection. Like I could feel like I could talk to you for
We could
hours.
chat all day. Like I'm
Yeah,
here for it.
absolutely, absolutely. So I am gonna ask you a couple of final questions, and one being, you've been doing the hard work, and again, like it's not easy when you aren't used to sitting with yourself and learning how to love yourself, and just sitting with it and just being. It's like because generate up. Like, and I'm not generally good with idle hands, and I'm teaching myself more and more. Like, for example, today, classic, I went to go off. I'd been busy all day morning, and I hate using the word busy. Went to get in the car wouldn't start, and the battery was flat. I'm like, what's the message here?
Hang on a
I
second,
didn't
right?
crack it. I just went, what's the message? And the message was, you've been going all morning. You need to just stop.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah,
actually just listened and stopped, right? So I think
yeah.
that's the thing. And so for me, amongst all your quiet time, there's obviously the big arena. Like, when's your next big event? Are you planning it? Like, what's the next big part of the big festoon?
Yeah, so the thing that I sat with the most is that I busied myself within like the ecosystem and the product suite and the deliverables and the way in which I sell things and realized that actually there are other commercial opportunities where I don't have to work so hard.
Oh,
And there are other ways of doing the thing that I do without me having to, stack things all the way out and actually divorcing myself from the idea that just because I've built in this way means that I have to build in this next way. And so ordinarily what happens is for the events is I would have these cohorts, these masterminds of speakers, and then we'd showcase them at the event. And I run two big events. One is an event within an event. So we have the AO Arena in Manchester in March. And that is the big festoon, high production value. If anyone goes and
I
checks out
can
my,
only
my
imagine.
socials, like go and have a look. It's brilliant. Then we have a smaller installation, a fringe event at an event called Ideas Fest, which is like the Glastonbury for business over here in the UK. It's fabulous. It's in September. So those are the two big events, and then we have a community called the Festoon 500, where we're building a network of founders that really are forming the hive of the community. So I've got a
Mm,
lovely, lovely engaged audience. We have like a free community. But the Festoon 500 is 500 businesses that really create the cornerstone of the Big Festoon. And once we've got those 500, that will become beyond the arena. So that
Yeah.
wasn't always the case. So the beyond the arena community, Brené Brown, and Brené
Yeah.
Brown shares, if you're not in the arena with me, then we can't have a conversation. Like, you can't step to me unless you are in the arena fighting with me. And that's become a real, like, life imitating art. So what I want to do is I want to build, the event to be what I know it to be. We invite grassroots organizations, established 7, 8 figure, companies to come together. The room is the leveler. We're learning about life and business. We're sharing our skills with each other. We're sharing our communities with each other. And then beyond the arena, we have more of these extended conversations through meetups, through, training together, through holding space together, and really pushing the needle on moving the conversation onto identity, onto purpose, onto connection, onto introductions, not normal networking where you just go, hi, what do you do, and try and sell to each other. But how do we link arms? How do we help each other and in
Yeah, so
service of each
good.
other? It wasn't like that before. It was doing a big online launch, selling a mastermind, and doing all that kind of the online space type stuff. It's not where I can see things going now. So that's the stripping out of all of that and really doubling down, focusing on that event, focusing on the US rollout, the Australian rollout, the UAE, Europe, but with the events, and then beyond the arena community becoming the heartbeat, the hive, the wider
Very cool.
community. And that is me going right back to the beginning of how I built the event in the first place. I was gigging, I was singing, I came out of corporate, I was putting my makeup on and live streaming my makeup like application, telling people what I was getting up to, and it began the community. The extraction of me from the community as I threw myself into building the mechanics of this monster of an event, I was now in the belly of the monster. I'd been consumed by it. So extracting myself from the belly of the monster has now allowed me to come all the way back. Community is absolutely in the center of everything
Yeah,
that I
it's so
do.
good. Oh, it's so good, Danny. So then my final last question is, how are you going to stay as you embark on the next phase or the next evolution of the Big Festoon? What are you going to do differently in terms of to keep yourself in that present being state? Because it's when you're doing what you're doing at the moment and you're in the exploration and you're taking the time out and you're getting really comfortable with it, it's good, right? As hard as it is, some days it's good. And then when you get back into the excitement of it all and the building, it's
Mhm.
so easy to fall back into the trap of. Have you got any ideas on how you're going to ensure?
Yeah, absolutely. And this was honestly one of the most profound things in terms of the growing up of the business. So I've been running this now for 7 years. And the way that I run it is like many, many founders do, is where you're laying the tracks down as you're going,
Yes.
which means that, you often get freelancers that come in and help, or, you recruit really quickly without process. The data mapping isn't, as tight as what it can be. We're running a lot on vibes and vision until the vibes and the vision run out. And so what I've had the opportunity to do is say, look, okay, the business that I want to build this to 10 million turnover, want to scale to sell, want to extract me from it very, very clearly what I want to do. In order to do that, my org chart needs to look within specialisms. I need to choose who
Yeah,
and what role I'm recruiting before I need it, and choose which thing I
so
need
true.
next, instead of going, oh, I'm overloaded with all this thing. What's the first thing that I can put down? No. What does the community need? It needs a community manager. Do I need sales and marketing people yet? No. I need a community manager to look after the community. Take that off me so that I can
Good
have the
idea,
bandwidth.
yeah.
So understanding in what order to put the jobs down again, that I know, because I've been running a business and been inside business long enough. So I've got an org chart to recruit into, as opposed to specialisms I want to put down. So instead of doing it retrospectively, I'm doing it
Yeah, it's
proactively.
so good. Yeah, I always encourage my clients to have their future org chart. And I think what you're talking about also is just like having the building the foundations, rebuilding the foundations, if you like, and ensuring that it's interconnected. If we talk about alignment of ourselves, the business has to be aligned as well. It's
Yeah.
just like a human being. So
Yeah.
Danny, incredible conversation. I guess my last question, or like, no, it's not even a question. Is there any like advice or any words of wisdom you would like to share based on the identity evolution you've been going through? And for anyone out there, any of the listeners who
Yeah.
might be in a bit of a in between, let's call it a transition
Mm.
between form, shape, identity, what would you
All of the things, yeah, like, absolutely. All of the things that I've experienced, both good and bad, have passed. So they have, they just have. And it sounds, again, it can sound really glib, like this too shall pass. The joy shall pass. The sadness shall pass. It all passes. It just does. It depends how long you're willing to sit with it, how long you're willing to accept it. So, how long are you willing to accept joy? It'll pass for sure. Something will happen. But how long are you willing to accept it? And how long are you willing to accept despair? How long are you willing to accept confusion? And all of a sudden, you become complicit in the decisions that you make. You become more empowered by going, okay, so I'm deciding now. It's not happening to me. I'm happening to it. And when you start to go, like feeling an emotion all the way through to the end, how do you do it? You've got to feel it all the way through to the end. And guess what? Once it gets to the end, it passes. So the sadness felt all the way, hiding from it is the thing that has been the most painful thing.
takes the longest too, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
So good, Danny. Oh my gosh, such an amazing conversation for a
Thank
Tuesday.
you.
Thank you
It's a
so much.
casual Tuesday.
Casual
Casual
Tuesday.
Tuesday
Danny, how do we find out more about you? How do we find out more about the Big Festoon? Where do we go?
You can find me all the way across the socials at the Queen Bee Danny. You can find out more about the Big Festoon at thebigfestoon.co.uk. But the Queen Bee Danny is where I hang out. So if you wanted to connect with me, which please do, if you're listening along, and B, I know you and I will have another conversation in the not too distant future. But at the
Absolutely.
Queen Bee Danny is where you come and find me and come and have a conversation, come and get in my DMs, come and have a chat.
Yeah, love it. Thank you so much, Danny. Amazing conversation. I've
Thank you for
taken
having
a
me.
lot out of this, and just a good reminder as well that we're all evolving, and it's part of the journey. So enjoy the ride, no matter what kind of gets thrown at you along the way. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
You too. Thank you for having me, my darling.
Thank you.